Hi everybody, this is Eric and you're watching Eric Plays 8 String. Today we're going to be talking about extensions. So the first question to answer is, what is an extension? So let's talk about a basic C major 7 arpeggio. So we have C, E, G, B natural. So that's 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now if we keep going up that pattern, we have the 9th, which is D, the 11th, which is F, and the 13th, which is A. So we put that all together and we get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. We can use those extensions to create more colors in our chords. So let's go to this basic C major 7 that we learned a few weeks ago. So we have C in the bass on the E string, we have B on the D string, and E on the G string. So we have C, B, and E. Right now we have the root, the 7th, and the 3rd. Now what can we do with this? Well, let's start by moving the 3rd of the chord up a half step to the 4th, which is the same note as the 11th. What we get is a suspension. So we go from the 4th to the 3rd. Pretty nice sound. Okay, let's do the same thing over a dominant 7. So we're going to move the 7th, the B, down to a B flat. So here's our C7 chord, C, B flat, E. Do the same thing, move from F to E. So suspended to major. Easy enough. Okay, let's do minor now. Minor 7th. C, B flat, E flat. Okay, we're going to move the E flat up to an F. So F to E flat. So we get something that we could use over a blues like this. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the 9th. And the 9th in the key of C major is a D. So we're going to go back to our basic C 7th chord. This is a dominant 7th just for illustration purposes. And what we can do is we can go down to the 9th by lowering our E down to a D. So it sounds like this. And we're taking the 3rd out again. So let's see what happens when we have a major 7th instead. Now, I wouldn't advocate playing all of these things back to back all the time. It can get a little bit tiresome, but it gives you some colors to play around with, and that's always a good thing. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about is the 13th, which one of my favorite voicings comes from a 6-string guitar, and playing from the E string, the 2nd E string, the traditional low E from a 6-string guitar. Most people who've ever played a jazz, blues, or even a regular blues are familiar with this chord. And we have the 7th, the dominant 7th, the 3rd, and the 13th. And what we can do is take this root note and move it down an octave. And have a really nice sounding C13 chord. Of course, we can move the bass around and go something like this. Which is a really fun sound to play around with. Another voicing that's based on that 13th voicing is just this. So we have our basic 13th we just talked about. This is our dominant 7, the 13th. We can also add the 9th on the high E string by playing that D up here. This is at the 10th fret. And we get a really nice sort of a C13 chord with the 9th on top. It's a really pretty one. Another thing we can talk about is altering these extensions. So going back to our C major 7th arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, that's easy enough. Now our 9th, here this is a D, and we can either make this a flat 9 by moving it down to D flat. Here's our regular ninth. We can also make it a sharp 9, which is the same as the minor third. So it's either an E flat or a D sharp, depending on how you want to spell it. So you get something really fun. You know, one of the classic chords to play is what we call the Hendrix Chord, which is this guy. So we have the root, the third, the seventh, I should say the major third, the seventh, and the sharp 9. Move this note down to the flat 9. And that's a really pretty sound. We can also play this on the 8th string by taking the bass note down an octave. So we can go sharp 9, flat 9, and then resolve it to the root. That's a really fun one. The next one that we can play around with quite a bit is the sharp 11. So here's our 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Move that up by a half step. This Lydian sound. Lydian is just major with the 4th degree of the scale moved up by a half step. So you get so we have C in the bass, the 6th or the 13th on top, the 9th, and the sharp 11th. And what this really is a D major triad over a C, and that gives us a really beautiful sound. Altered extension that we can talk about is the 13th, and we usually move the 13th down by a half step. So here's again our basic C major 7 arpeggio, and then we're going to put the sharp 11 in because I like that sound a lot. So here's our A, our 13th. We can move that down by a half step. Let's move that up an octave, and we get this. So this is a C13. We have a C dominant 7th, D flat and E, and the 13th, which is an A flat on top. And that's a really pretty sound. So I want to talk about a couple of my favorite voicings, things that we can play using some of these extensions. So the first one, we're going to just stick to the key of C for the time being. This first one is in C minor, and this is a C minor 7 with the 4th above the 3rd. So it's not a suspension because the 3rd is still in there, but it gives it a nice open sounding voicing. I love that one. So let's talk about another voicing that I really like. So we have the C in the bass, the 7th, dominant 7th I should say, the 11th, and the 13th. And then we can put the root on top if we want. We can also play it as a major 7th with those same voicings. So we have the 11th and the 13th on top. Let's sharp the 11 and hear how that sounds. Gives us a really interesting sort of open voicing. So I think that does it for the basics of extensions for this week. If you have any questions at all, please leave a comment. And if you'd like to know when I post new videos, just subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoyed the content, please give my video a like. And thank you all for watching. And I'll see you next week. We're going to talk a little bit more about scales. We're going to take a little break from harmony and talk about playing single note stuff on the fretboard, scales and arpeggios. And we'll get to some interesting stuff about that next time. So again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next week. All right, bye.